A rerun is now. Hopefully this works this time. So yeah. I had to re-record it because every single time I went past like a certain point, it was like, and then I'm doing it. So yay. That was fun. So I'm going to try again. Hopefully it works. Yay. So, first, the non-spoiler part is short-ish, kind of. Be a bit longer because I had the intro. But it's basically, I kind of like that these two worlds, there's a reason why there's this technology sort of like equipment that sort of means that there's a interesting thing that there's two space coming in together. I'm not going to talk about 2Ds because when you get into the final points, it's interesting. But I do like these two worlds coming together because you do get these interesting pairings with some people. Definitely when you slowly bring in more people and slowly question, okay, what's going on here? Why is this happening? What's overall going on with what's happening here? It's fun, it's interesting, and I definitely 100% enjoy it when they're like questioning how this is happening, what's going on, and for some people, why are they here? So yeah. So I deleted 2 episodes. I re-recorded this because I'm like, wait, I don't have the time. But I deleted 2 episodes, so I think that should be enough. I think the data was wrong. I don't know why they didn't like just stop, just carry on recording. I don't know. Hopefully this works. Yeah. The points I was talking about. 1, because I like when you bring 2 characters together and you have an interesting conversation. You have one with, I think, Batman and Weiss. Both being sort of like, I think, the leaders. Not leaders as in leaders. I also think they have an interesting idea of them being, not realist, but being more having, like, they're both from money, they're both from good leader. They both have a person in red that's a little bit optimistic. Obviously, the colours are different. Weiss is white because Snow White, and Batman is black because bats, and also shadows. And he's selfie. But I still find that fun. I like when you slowly reveal, you start questioning things. I think I talked a bit about in the first recording about continuity of like, where does this take place in the continuity? I don't know. Because RWBY, I don't Justice League, no continuity. This is not from a series that is pre-built, I don't think. I think this is like, here's the Justice League characters. What series? I don't know. RWBY is a series. It's not like the Justice League where it's like, there are 5 series, take your pick. Obviously some don't work. I don't know all the series. Some good, some don't. There's the art style change, so I don't know. No one can question it. Obviously, this takes place, I think, after not Paris. I constantly forget her. The one who's from the Achilles character, the person inspired by Achilles, who is dead, and that's a huge plot point. Questioning why she's here, because she should be dead. You also get a couple of Justice League characters, which I think is interesting. Some don't get used, so I'll go past the ones. So you get Superman and Wonder Woman, who are like Batman, the big trio. You can't have a Justice League without, I think, having those 3, because I think they're sort of like, in most Justice League, they're sort of like the core 3. The only exception is Justice League, Inception, but Batman is opposed to both Wonder Woman and Superman for that decision. So they're sort of still there, but they're kind of broken up. You then have Batman, with an interesting thing being like, most of the time Batman, you have all the other ones that we'll mention. being just a guy, and I know there's sort of thing of being like just a guy, etc. But I still think it's interesting and fun about all of this. Definitely with questioning, oh, maybe are the powers useful? I'm not going to be like, is Batman useful for his powers? He's a smart enough person, he has consistency with everyone, etc. He has plans to get rid of even everyone in the Justice League. He is smart enough to get away with it. And I think some people have pointed out how, I think Panda Red talked about it, and I think how a lot of people, where like some of the villains are mirrors of one part of Batman. I think that is a fun idea. I do think he's still good enough, but I love that he's questioning, yeah, I'm actually more useful here because of my powers. You have Vixen and Cyborg, which Cyborg is another one. Has been in the Justice League a bit. Sometimes he's not, sometimes he's in the Teen Titans, but sometimes he is. That's complicated, but he is in this one. Vixen, the only time I've seen Vixen beforehand was in Injustice. I think it was a reskin of Cheetah. I think that's what it's called, a reskin. I don't know. She has the same mechanics. Then you also have Green Lantern, which isn't Hal Jordan. I know there's a couple. There's Hal Jordan and I think two others. Guys, who's the other? This guy. I actually forgot how. Hal Jordan, John Stewart, Guy Gardner, Kyle Rayner, Simon Brass. Okay, I'm not going to mention the non-human ones because that goes. So there's been a lot, and the one that this one is Jessica Cruz, with someone who deals with anxiety and knowing, which is interesting for someone who has the power of will. And then you have the Flash, who, which is really interesting, gets controlled, and some of his decisions actually show that control because someone's controlling him, which is fun. And then you get the idea of all of like the mysteries of like, oh, the two worlds coming together because of trying to stop and trying to bring back something, which is fun and clever. And obviously I love it. I love this entire thing. And how the conversation worked is really fun. So first the recording, right? So it was the data thing. Yay. But let's go. It is fun. It is interesting. But obviously, this isn't everything. There is more questions. You see, this is part one. Part one. So it's not finished yet. It still has some stuff left. And it's still got to do some stuff left. So, obviously, that means that some of the stuff which is there is not done yet, right? Correct. Just need to check something quickly. Yeah. So there's a little bit more left, and I'll talk about that, I think, in 8 days. I think that's one of the things in next year's. But what's going on? What's the bigger plan? And what is next? But they do go back to the regular DC world, and it's really interesting to see what comes of the next part. And now, one which I know tomorrow will be a bit shorter. Bye bye Earth. So yeah, these. I wasn't much of a fan of this, but let's talk about this tomorrow. But I hope you enjoy. I hope you like this debatably really long video. Sorry I sound a little bit annoyed in some places. I had to re-record some things because some things weren't working. I think it's because data, I make sure I don't fully do everything on Crunchyroll and just download the most because sometimes that logs up the data on my iPad and it can't record because there's no data for the recording. So yeah, I hope you enjoy and good night. So, let's see what this has next. So yeah, to catch things up with this, I talked about previously that this is a mystery between Justice Leagues and the sort of like RWBY, which I like. I love both as much, and I think it's really interesting. I love more of the mechanics, and definitely some of the earlier weapons where they have fun tricks to them. I think were cool. And someone made a video where it's like, yeah, that kind of tracks. I still like it. The overall concept, the overall idea is overall fun. And I've watched a lot of Justice League stuff, so that's fun. But the last one I did was part 1. So, we're at part 2. What do you think about part 2? I like it. I love it. I think it's really cool. I definitely think this is one of the things that I think is exciting. You have all of these characters going to the other one. And I like how it starts with seemingly this time thing that makes it this. I don't know what that impacts in the future, but it kind of implies that this takes place after the Wonderland one. You also don't have Juniper, which I think is a fun idea and very creative, because the last one kind of dealt with here's RWBY's world, here's RWBY's characters, here's all that one. While this one's being like, here's the DC world. We're not going to bring as many as we think, and we're not going to bring too many people into here. Which I think makes sense, it kind of tracks. You're not going to be like, and then here's the extended, here's all the RWBY characters, because you had like 8 in Superman's universe, and 8 and 8 kind of makes sense. And even though RWBY has less of a characters, which is sad, because you kind of have, I think, Cyborg, Flash, Vixen, Green Lantern, more specifically one of my favorite Green Lanterns now, because I keep hearing the thing, and it's really fun. Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman, which is 7, but on this one, RWBY only has 4 characters. And I'm not including the villains, because that kind of just adds 1 to each number. Kind of doesn't change too much. But with this, I think it's more interesting. But, so, the one thing which is important in the last one is that something's happened. What's happening with the powers? Wait, the semblance aren't working? Because you got the last one, the superheroes, and I didn't talk about this too much. Well, I did a bit with more specifically Batman, but their superpowers have turned into semblances. Which kind of tracks, and it does make things more interesting. Definitely when it's like with some that don't have powers, Batman, as an interesting concept, they talk about it a lot. But what about the people with semblances? When they came into this world, they got superpowers. I think it's like super speed, I think it's a strength. It's really fun, and I think it's definitely creative, like transforming these insane powers into our. Besides Snow White. No, not Snow White. Technically Snow White, but White Sneed, who hasn't got powers. Which I think is definitely interesting that in part 1, she was partnered with Batman, who had the inverse effect that he had no powers, and when he went to the RWBY world, he had powers. And it's all about like trying to split, and it's really interesting about like, oh, these monsters are actually coming into our world. You also see some of the villains actually support. It's like, yeah, we don't want this. This kind of destroys the world, and we kind of want to exist. Please. And I love that idea where it's like, well, this is kind of bad. Why? Well, we want to exist. We want to not die. It's a fun idea. Absolutely love it. Absolutely love the idea. Because, like, this is destroying, and everyone is going to die from both worlds if nothing has happened, at least the humans. And they're being like, well, in our interest, we want to survive, so we're gonna help you. Which is clever. But again, this is really fun, really interesting, and you learn a bit more about like the plan and then what's happening and how this is happening. And I kind of think this is kind of non-canonical because you kind of can't skip this and it doesn't affect RWBY whole scale. I don't know. Besides, I don't know when season 1 takes place. Part 1 takes place, continuity in RWBY, which I still don't. I know roughly where it takes place. I'm not absolutely, but I don't know exactly what this does because they mention, I think, stuff to do with escaping Atlas. And then the stuff with the Wonderland place. But yeah, I like this overall. Overall, I think the RWBY one is better because this one you kind of get the know-how. It's not bad, but it's basically part 1 did more characters while this is building up more the mystery, which both ideas I like, but I like people having, definitely when I have one of the conversations of like, oh, whose 2 characters will make a good conversation, I like the idea of like questioning what is, and not having a good answer, because the whole thing with Batman and the, oh, is it better if I have powers, etc., etc., you can have conversation and arguments and the characters don't know. That is not the main point. And yes, as a weird sense, I just know it's a thing, but I just didn't know what else to say as a reference. But it is still a fun conversation, questioning if it's true or false. Me? False. If you're smart enough, you can work around that. But I can get why people say, yeah, at a certain point you kind of do need stuff. Yeah, do need powers. But again, that's to do with the writing. But I like talking about it because it makes it an interesting debate. But yeah. So yeah. The next one is going to be a bit shorter than this. This is Bye Bye Earth Season 2. Yay. Another one of the ones that was like part 1, part 2. But I hope you enjoy. I hope you like this video, and good night.